red. Hello, welcome again to the live stream series of Activate Your Prosperous Life. This is where abundance, prosperity, money, flow, energy, scarcity, lack, not enough, all converge to create a major discussion of transformation. We're influencing the world with this summit, and we're all coming together collectively to support you, And this discussion is about your prosperous body today. It is about what it means to feel safe to receive. And all of these live streams, you can catch them in any of the streams that you're watching right now and go back to January 2nd, actually, and tune into the live streams when we started. These topics have really evolved and really grown deep and you'll get to know every speaker a bit more. And if you join the summit, you can get the speaker that we're all here. You can get their full interview and receive their free gifts. And it's a free entry into the summit. You just need to click the link in any of these streams to come on in and get access to the full interview and this discussion even deeper. So I'm going to start with Kirsten. She's right beside me. Kirsten, tell us a little bit about yourself and your work. And then what do you know about being safe to receive? Like, how is it land for you?
Hello, everybody again. Yeah, my name is Kirsten Ligman, and I'm the CEO of Regener Studio, and I'm also a mentor coach for leaders of those who want to create a regenerative future, a more thriving future. And so, yeah, this whole question of feeling safe to receive, what popped immediately into my mind was that those of us, and I'll put myself in that category, who are used to being doers, who get value, self-worth out of doing, have a really, really hard time going into a receiving mode because you're not creating value, and then your self-worth goes down. And so it is such a powerful leadership move to balance it out, the forward giving, but also the energy flowing back to you. And we're talking about the body being able to go into a receptive mode. That is where you then use visualization. Like, one of the things that I love to do in meditation is to imagine every cell, every molecule, every atom, the heart, the soul, the throat, the solar plexus, all opening up like a bud, like a rosebud, so that there is a visceral experience of opening to receive. And then the last thing I want to presence again, I think this came up a few sessions ago, was what is your relationship to money, and what are the underlying belief systems that are putting you in a state of receptivity or repelling of money for whatever reason. And there is this wonderful book that I worked through at one point called Shadow Money. And it literally has you say, money makes me feel. And what I believe about money is, and when you allow yourself to drop deep, a lot of juice comes out of that. And for me, what I realized is money makes me feel unsafe, which was a jaw dropper, because it's supposed to make you feel safe, right? So see what it is for you so that you can get into that receptive mode.
Awesome. Yeah, if you're a doer, so if you're a high achiever, even myself running this summit, just, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? But I've really been sitting back and like being more receptive the last few days. It's been different the last few days. Connie, tell us a bit about you, your work, and how it means to feel safe receiving for you.
Yeah, I'm Connie Pertula, the Menopause Navigator and Certified Nutritional Practitioner. And Kirsten, I totally identify with what you're saying, because I've always been a doer. I've always been fiercely independent. And so to receive, yeah, it's like, I almost feel my body tensing up, or when, it took me a long time even to get a compliment and just say, thank you. Yeah, without giving some sort of excuse as to why I should, accept that thank you. But the other part for me, of course, has always, ever since I moved into nutrition, your body will receive better if you're giving it the right food. And if anybody's watched any of these other lives, they're probably thinking she says the same thing all the time. But it's the truth. What we're putting into our body, if we're putting in beautiful whole foods into our body and, things that aren't highly refined and sugars and that type of stuff, there's something that happens. And as you said, Kirsten, like in the cells, when we're nourishing our cells are going to be more receptive to receiving whatever is coming into us. And so it does take time. And I know sometimes people will make little changes with what they're eating and they're like, oh, I don't feel that much different. But for me, my body was so overloaded and stressed and so many things going on with it that it actually took a couple of years for me to actually start to feel good again. And that was a couple of years of eating really well. So it's something that, you just have to be patient. And like anything, it takes time.
And you can feel it doesn't always have to, everyone's going to have a different timeline on like you can start feeling better in a couple days after you stop eating something, right? But
Yeah.
the ultimate 100% feeling great might take 6 months. It might take a year. It might take 3 years. It depends where you're at when you start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like that rain barrel thing, right? The rain barrel, it takes a long time to fill that rain barrel up. So if you've got a really full rain barrel, well, it's going to take a while to empty that to get you back to that, back to the bottom, to the base.
Yes. Kelsey, you could probably go deeper into this too, with your work, movement. Tell us about you, unmute yourself, and about feeling safe to receive.
Yeah, well, similar to Connie and Kirsten, for me, I've had a pretty good balance between doing and receiving, but giving and receiving, I was like over giving, and that idea of you give with one hand and you receive with the other. I was just constantly giving and not receiving a lot. So for me, it was really coming back to how do I fill my own cup, and as Connie was mentioning, how do I nourish myself? And for me, yeah, part of that was like with beautiful scents and beautiful flowers and lots of self-care, time to be creative and do art and reconnect with myself. And part of that was also, yeah, getting in touch with what does the prosperous body mean to me? What does self-trust mean to me? And, in my work with expressive arts and transformation, I work with people on personal metaphors. One of the personal metaphors that really resonated for me was when I'm at my best in being of service, that's like what? And the image that came to me was this lighthouse where I can be this beacon drawing people in, but the light was like mosaic colors full of different vibrations and different energies and different pieces. And the self-trust was part of that kaleidoscope holding that mosaic together. And that was deep in my heart. And so by really exploring that metaphor and bringing it back into my body, I was able to embody that self-trust and really open myself more to receiving.
Thank you for sharing so beautifully. Dr. Elsbeth, welcome. Tell us about your work. Your work's pretty fascinating. I'm really connected to it with life force and tantra. What does it mean to feel safe receiving in your world?
Yeah, I would like to pick up from what was said already, that feeling safe, receiving, and trusting, they go together. I cannot receive without trusting. I cannot feel safe without trusting. I cannot so they go together. They are like one family. And in my work, I'm an intimacy coach and the co-founder of the Tantra Nova Institute in Chicago. My beloved, who you may have seen in the summit interview, he's obviously not here with me today, but he says hello. So both of us, are running the institute and are teaching. And the receiving is very much associated with the yin energy, so the feminine energy. And that is not to say that feminine is different from female. It is not a gender question. It is a vibrational, it's a frequency, it's an essence question. So to receive, and for me, that has been really a long journey, coming to a place where I am in tune with myself and the environment, which includes the field, the universal, cosmos, to trust to be cared for. And in terms of prosperity, they are totally correlated, because I cannot receive, I cannot attract, prosperity, wealth, and wealth not only in monetary terms. Wealth can show up in many ways, unless I reverberate in it. And in your notes that you sent to us, Jennifer, you said embodiment. And embodiment is that vibration. For many years, I was so attracted to that term, attraction marketing. But years ago, like 20 years ago, I didn't have a clue what it was, because it was not something to be understood theoretically, although there were distinctions and practices, but it didn't make a difference. I still didn't know what it was. What shifted was that my own energy shifted, that I learned to trust, through my own processes and breakdowns and going into the abyss and rising like the phoenix. So I just want to bring that aspect of being the vibration that is feeling safe. It's not an outside thing. That is the receptor, and that is trust. And it's a vibration that then connects with the vibrational field, either between people, be it in terms of relationship, or be it, business, what clients I attract, and so forth.
I love what you're just saying. And Robert, I know Robert can even take that go even deeper from his perspective in shamanism as well. What are you picking up? I'm going to unmute you, Robert, because I think I muted you myself. Okay, here we go. Thank you, Dr. Elspeth.
Yeah, this is a truly exciting topic. From what I get, everybody's been there. The doers, the givers. I have to ask myself, how often have I even rejected people that wanted to really be there for me? And the way I was conditioned is that in order to receive, I had to have done something for it. I need to have paid something for it. So yeah, I also had to learn and unravel this part of my past. And once I opened up, however, everything just started streaming. And to this day, I feel so blessed. Sometimes I just think of something I need, and all of a sudden it just shows up, or somebody comes along and gives me 5 pairs of pants because her husband bought the wrong pants and they happen to fit me perfectly. The most amazing things, like we said several discussions ago, we don't have to worry about the how. There just shouldn't be any static between the thing that I am envisioning and it happening. But because it's the topic is about feeling safe, and it is a bodily thing, because any form of resistance you feel in your body, every single birthday, you know, I always feel resistance of receiving gifts. Still today, I feel awkward when people want to give me gifts. Isn't that amazing? So now I'm aware of this. So I just breathe through it and just open myself up continuously, reminding myself that I'm worthy of everything that the universe has to offer me. And another thing I wanted to say, you know, where it becomes most apparent, where feeling safe has everything to do with the body, is when we are in an intimate space with our lover, when we're completely vulnerable and naked. What I have experienced, because my wife and I, we teach Tantra, what we experience with couples is that in those moments, they don't know how to ask what is most important for them. And it is all about feeling safe.
It is,
So
Robert.
wonderful, wonderful. There's so many levels where you can, you know, approach this topic, but thank you for bringing this up.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We're bringing it up together. We're creating these topics together. Melody, I'd like you to share next. What does it mean feeling safe for you? And tell us about your work as well.
Yeah, well, I'm a singer, sacred sound alchemist, ceremonialist. I love to create these sacred spaces where people can soften and allow them to receive. And I always talk about the parasympathetic nerve. I want to activate that nerve, of course, in a meditation or any sound bath that I'm doing. That is the most important thing, to activate that parasympathetic, which is the feminine, the yin. And so the body can receive the healing sounds, and to be safe and soft and to allow that. And I resonate with everyone being a doer and a generous, okay, give, right? So I think we've all learned, and it's a muscle that we have to strengthen, that trust muscle, that allowing, and like the worthy piece. And it's not just something that we can think in our minds, like, yeah, I'm worthy, I deserve this. You know, it's a subconscious thing that our body's holding on to in our cellular memory, or, you know, on our subconscious, the old patterns and the old stories. So working with sound in my world is very powerful and very profound and subtle to clear out those old patterns that we're holding, but also just every day getting present into the body. And so I wonder, like, how do these millionaires, they're running around doing all the time, how are they receiving all this good stuff, like money? Because I believe you have to be in the feminine. That is the only time the body can receive. And it takes practice, right? Getting out of here and getting into the body, and the body's always in the present moment. So the more time you can spend, you know, meditating, being in creative practice, or being dancing around, being in the body is going to help things being delivered to you, and with ease and grace and joy. So that's the best part about dancing around, being in the body, is bringing more joy into your life. And that just also being in that vibration of joy will create more abundance, because you're going to attract that vibrational into your field, right? The vibrations of abundance and more joy, more money. That brings you more joy, but definitely more health and peace of mind as well. Like Dr. Elspeth said, it's not just about money. It's about all kinds of things.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And Lauren, you'll go deeper into your like self-care around this topic, I'm sure. Tell us about you.
Yeah, thank you. Lauren, I'm the founder of Orion Retreats and Key Retreat Box. I tend to be focusing on the Key Retreat Box for these because it's all about this self-care, soul care practices that I have had such a journey. And so if I needed this, I know a lot of other people need this. And I love the idea that you guys are all talking about, because I resonate with, it's a frequency, it's energy, it lives in the body. So for me, part of my journey was coming through learning where safety feels in the body. And if we're in contraction and we're not in this flowy expansion, then that's a message from the body. So a lot of the practices that I've been doing has been somatic work, working with the root chakra and the second chakra, the sacral, because that's where safety issues tend to exist. And if we can work with our own energy, then there's so much we can do ourselves. There's tools like breath work, embodied somatic with the other practitioners. But really, Yeah, it's the level of soul care that we need to be able to, if we can't give to ourselves, then we have a hard time receiving from other people. So part of the practice for me this last year and a half has been like allowing myself to receive micro invitations. It was so hard for me to receive anything. Like funny stories, like when you're in the coffee line and the car ahead of you like pays for your drink. I very clearly one time I was like, oh, take care of the person behind me. Don't worry about me. And that was like one of my first big clues is like, I had such a hard time receiving. So when you say yes to those little things, or when something little small gifts, like work up your baseline to receive. And it is all about that safety. And I think a lot of times it's connected to this idea of the safety to be seen. And not just seen for seen for yourself, but then also seen by like an audience. And that's it's a weird, I can dive into that a little bit more later, but there seems to be a big connection there too. So I'm resonating with what everyone else is saying too about body, energy, and just a lot of self-trust.
Yeah. Mary Beth, you're next now. Please unmute. Welcome to the live stream. It's so happy to have you come on. The Prosperous Body, you talk about environments and space. So how can we be safe in our body with the help of our environment?
Yeah, I really enjoy this conversation. The environment affects our nervous system. It affects our emotional well-being. It affects our ability to function in our brain mentally in so many ways. And when the environment is not supportive, when it is not a place of relaxation or focus or productivity, then there's a lot that happens in the body to dysregulate us. And it connects with everything that you guys have been saying that I've heard. I think, Melody, you talked a little bit about space, your environment, and how that is really important when we are looking at creating a prosperous life, creating, especially on the business side. My background, I had a really disorganized, very cluttered and chaotic space as I was building a business for about 10 years. And it came to a point where I had so much anxiety. I couldn't focus. I was falling behind on deadlines and really losing credibility. And then once I created the environment, I really tuned into who I am, what I needed, what my gifts are. And once I created that space for myself to be able to support clients, to be able to grow a business, I found everything changed for me. And that safety feeling, I feel unsafe when I am stressed, overwhelmed, feeling anxious, feeling chaotic, feeling like, oh my God, I'm behind. But when I can ground myself, when I can tune into, this is what I'm feeling, this is what's going on for me right now, this is my body experience, this is my emotional experience, and then I can help myself so much better. And when my space is chaotic, it is almost impossible for me to be able to do that, for me to be able to ground and focus on what I need, and then to be able to help my clients. So I feel safest when my environment is supportive of me, my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health.
Yeah, I love how you put it. And I'm the same way. I like it to be organized. David, you tell us about you and like smashing the plateaus when it comes to feeling safe. Like, how do you go through the plateau and feel safe at the same time?
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. So the world has givers, takers, and exchangers. And if you want to grow as an individual and you want to grow as a business owner, it's really important to be an exchanger and to connect yourself with exchangers. So I love this whole discussion about safety and vulnerability because in our community, which is a support for corporate refugees who are starting, running, and growing their own business, it's all about connecting with others in an environment where you feel safe enough to be vulnerable, because when you share where you are struggling, you will get feedback from others who have faced similar challenges. And one of the most common pieces of feedback we hear from our members is how they leave a live session energized, which is both physical and emotional. They feel motivated to carry on, whereas before they came to the session, they may have felt what you were talking about, Mary Beth, feeling overwhelmed and feeling like the world is very chaotic, and how am I going to have the strength and the energy to persist and get through it seems like informidable obstacles as an entrepreneur. Well, those connections are really important, and again, the safety and the feeling of belonging with like-minded people is really critical to success.
It definitely is. It's definitely critical. So, Kirsten, I'm going to let you go before I talk about the VIP. Thriving at the Frontier of Change is your talk. Do you have time to, before you have your next appointment, go into what it means to thrive and be safe?
Mm-hmm. I want to go back to the receptivity piece, right? And come at it from a slightly different perspective or lens. And that's the lens that I live in a lot, which is nature is circular. There is no such thing as just a one way in nature. Everything becomes nutrients for something else. There is a circularity and a reciprocity that happens within nature. We somehow, through our psychological patterning and our emotional distresses, have maneuvered ourselves into a place where oftentimes it is the overachieving, the overgiving, the martyrdom, the inability to do anything other than give, or on the other side, be the victim and demand only to receive because of all your hurts. Carolyn Mace calls that woundology. So there's the other side of it, right? But when you come into balance and build systems, build businesses, build yourself in a way that is in a reciprocity, then the giving and the receiving come into balance. And, you know, for many of us, the muscle of receiving has to be practiced a little bit, but it is such a beautiful place to come from, rather than just looking at receiving or just looking at giving. It's the whole system that comes into balance through reciprocity. And if anyone has not read Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, highly recommend. She talks a lot about reciprocity. She comes from the Native American perspective, and it's so beautifully written and so heartfelt. And it's really that place that we are invited to come into and design our businesses, our systems, our infrastructure, all of it from that place.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that. And I was on a training with a shaman once from Peru in the Sacred Valley, and he was saying that someone has to pay. Like when we take from, we're taking, there will always be a payment. Like the payment has to happen somehow. And so it might not feel equal, but it is happening. It is happening. And that is why it's so important to really live in reciprocity, so that it creates this balance where you're not like, oh, where did that, why is that happening to me now? Because somewhere, somehow, what we take has to be repaid. It has to be repaid.
And it's not, then the question of safety sort of leaves, because now you're part of a system and a field that you can feel whether it's out of balance or not, and you get to play with that.
Yeah. It's something that we have to learn more about. Definitely everybody has to go deeper into this reciprocity. They call it Aini in Peru. It's a sacred thing. And ancient peoples know a lot about it, and we need to learn more from them, definitely, and bring that wisdom back. and because it does create a lot of safety. And so before we go on, I just want to remind you that we are creating something here beyond what we can imagine, as Kirsten would say. And there is a frequency, there is a vibration to prosperity. And we're cultivating it with this summit, and we're co-creating it with this summit. I'm not doing this alone. I'm doing this with 33 speakers and all of our free gifts. And then we have VIP gifts. And last night we had one of our VIP Zoom room calls. I call them prosperity rooms. And there was coaches on there holding space for the VIPs, and they were solving problems. They were getting their questions answered. They were getting feedback immediately on something they were thinking about. It was awesome. And it was such a beautiful container. I felt so blessed to be in that space. And when mentors, coaches, and leaders who've been on the path for a long time come together with open hearts, it's powerful. It's powerful and a great blessing. And so I invite you to take that next step. If you haven't registered for the summit already, please register. There's so much good information here. And then take it a step further. Instead of just consuming information, implement, start getting support, coming closer into the network that we're creating here. And it's happening. It's happening. So I invite you to come into the VIP and connect with us. Connect with us. All of these posts, all of these streams have our links to our Facebook, our YouTube, our LinkedIn, our Instagrams. Follow us, connect with us, and then also press on the link to register. So Connie, you're going to go next. Your talk is the power of menopause. I should know this by now. And how does the power of menopause feed into safety and the prosperous body?
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say that this is just women who have a hard time receiving, but it is more typical of women to have a hard time receiving, especially when it comes to, caring for our families. I know for me, when I was in the corporate world, it was like, I got to show them I can do this on my own. I was so determined, and I'd work extremely long hours, and, just making it look like I could handle everything on my own and researching stuff myself. I mean, I would ask questions, but, I wanted to look strong. But then when you also look at women who are caring for children or aging parents, there can be this sense of responsibility that it's my job. I have to do this. I have to look after everybody. I need to make sure that everything's just running perfectly. So it can be very, very difficult for women to start to receive. And especially when we go into menopause, suddenly our body is almost unrecognizable. That's how some women explain it. I woke up one morning and I'm not sure what happened, but I'm in this alien body that just doesn't operate the same way as it used to. And that can be very confusing as well, too. So add on all of the other things that a woman's doing, and then add in this confusion of the stages of menopause, from perimenopause to postmenopause. And it can be very unsettling and very unnerving. It can almost feel like you've lost your foundation, and, how do you continue to do these things? But of course, as women, we just I'll get through it, I'll do it. So this is where, and the other part of it is as well, too, is that unfortunately, sometimes when women are going to their doctors or whoever they deal with from a medical perspective, sometimes they're being dismissed for the symptoms that they're talking about or how they're feeling. And so again, that just kind of puts the responsibility back on the woman. It's like, well, okay, if my doctor can't figure it out, then I guess I just have to get through this. So that's where it is, finding people that you feel safe with, to discuss what you're going through, and then being able to learn how to receive. And most of the clients that I work with, it takes a long time for them to start to change those habits sometimes, because They're just so used to doing it on their own. But once you start opening up to receiving and feeling safe to talk about how you're feeling with somebody who is going to honor that information, then menopause can be an extremely powerful time. And I love how a number of you have talked about, the yin and the feminine. And that is something that does start to change as we go into menopause. So it's learning how to still tap into it, because it's still there, but we just have to look at it differently, and the energy is different. And so we need to understand, we need to listen. And that means coming in and being centered within ourselves.
Yeah. Thank you, Connie. That's amazing. We talk about the nervous system a lot, but the hormones are very important too. For me, I like to refer to the body as many systems all interconnected together. And sometimes some people don't understand, what does somatic mean? Sometimes people don't understand like what sovereign means. Like there's a lot of big words that we might be using in this live streams that you might not understand if you're tuning in and you're curious. Let us know in the comments if you don't understand one of these words, because there is the simple word as well that we can go into and go deeper about what we're talking about. Like we can use more plain language sometimes too. But keep rolling the way we are. Keep rolling the way we are. We're whoever's listening. So Kelsey, fierce you, lead with confidence and power. I know we brought up the word fierce earlier. Like it's an energy that is, because it doesn't feel safe, right? Like you'd think like you have to be fierce because it's not safe, but I know that it means something else. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I think, words like prosperity or, trust or fierce or whatever it is, people have their own stories, their own histories, their own ways of interpreting them. And my work is basically about that. It's really interrogating what is the personal connection? What is my understanding of what it means to be fierce, of what it means to be powerful, of what it means to receive. And in the work that I do with expressive arts and somatics, the simple word for it is really just being resourced. I'm teaching people what their resources are personally, because everyone has a different resource. Everyone feels resourced, everyone feels powerful, everyone is fierce in different ways. And it's about really embodying the individual meaning and bringing that through each level of the system, and to understand the complexity of it and how it might even be different for the heart. Fierceness in the heart for me is my power animal, the snow leopard. But fierceness in my life is my little exotic short hair kitten that was on here earlier in the beginning of the call. And, fierceness, like for me personally, was about being less aggressive and less intense and more soft and vulnerable. So like really owning my own ferocity was really about sort of slowing down, coming back into my heart, really connecting with the compassion and the power, and being able to embody that and share that with the world. So again, it looks different for each person, but the work itself is really about understanding what each individual is bringing and what that resource is that they need to fully embody that in their work as a leader.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for helping me to explain it a little bit different so that we can talk to many people here. Melody, your talk is New Earth Paradigm, the Ascension to 5D. Somehow my notes got all screwed up on my screen, so now I have to look down. See, I'm not prepared either. That's how I find I become more vulnerable, is like when I make mistakes.
You're always prepared. Come on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, New Earth Paradigm. So we're in a new era, right? I think I never really thought about this, but of course I do the astrology and I'm tracking the cycles. So what this new era is all about is there's so many planets shifting this year. So we have already entered the new era of the Aquarian age and the Piscean age, but of course it takes like 100 years for us to really be in it. So we've left the Kali Yuga, which is the densest time and like the hardest, densest, like we are dense beings, and we're getting all of these solar flares where our sun is in a solar maximum right now. And we know we're getting slammed with all of this cosmic light. The sun flew through the cosmic, what was it called? There's like, basically all of these comets that come by are bringing new light, fresh energy, wisdom that we've never had on this planet before. So we are raising our frequency and are activating our higher dimensional chakras so that we can be the light being. We're creating a whole new human being. I think I've talked about this. No big deal, right? This is like unprecedented time we're living in humanity. So it's taking practice, and it's not easy to just be in the feminine and be trusting and be open. And like, we've had so many years of being in the patriarchy, and the matriarchy is all about living from the heart, and opening and trusting and receiving. So I think when Saturn and Neptune here are leaving Pisces in the next couple of days, Neptune's leaving Pisces, and they're entering Aries together. They're going to be conjunct together at Aries, 0 point Aries, which is the spring and the new beginnings. And like Aries is I, me, mine. So maybe we're all going to be like getting better a bit, like, yeah, it's my time and I'm going to be receiving. But it's funny and interesting. All these outer planets are moving from like earth and water, which is feminine signatures, into air and fire and the masculine signatures this year. But it's going to lighten things up and help us to receive more light, so we can anchor and embody this. And Saturn and Neptune together represent our spiritual embodiment. We're embodying the spiritual, the divine in our physical bodies, and together that is how we are creating this new earth, together with our hearts and in our bodies, and focusing on love and abundance, because we're already abundant. We are divine, it is our birthright. So we just gotta train this to believe and to know and to trust that we're worthy and we're going to receive, and it's going to work out. Like, the divine plan is unfolding. That's all I got to say. Even with all the stuff out there, like,
it is.
We know that chaos and confusion kind of bring, the new. There must be, like, that is a feminine principle, chaos, right? In the void where all things are created. So
yeah,
it's an exciting time, but
in creation,
gotta stay present.
Yes,
open-hearted.
And connect with people who have been studying this stuff and working with these energies for 30, 50, maybe even longer years. And it's not done alone. It's not done alone. I could not do this alone, this summit. These people are critical, essential to this summit, essential. Lauren, I'm going to go to you next. And soul care retreats. I'm lost on my talk titles here. What is it?
Yeah, sustainable soul care for conscious leaders.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful topic, and I really enjoyed our conversation with it. It's something that I do with both people in-person retreats, and then what we work on with at-home retreats is, again, this anchoring people back into their somatic experience. Somatic is in the body. So safety lives in our cells, it lives in our psyche, it lives in our bodies. And with the experience that I've had both in energy medicine and physical modalities of working with people, there's different ways to get at this feeling of releasing what does not feel safe. There's a lot of releasing that needs to happen before you can call in higher frequencies of safety, prosperity, even, and then trust and abundance. And if you don't clear the way for that in your nervous system, you don't have the capacity to fill it with anything further. So I think that's a good first step, is to, like, what can we do to empty out our minds, empty out our energetic blueprint, so that we can receive more. And safety is such a big thing, because once you feel safe letting go of the old, that's when you feel safe of bringing in the new. So the soul care is all about just that, creating that baseline jump from old paradigms, old patterns of doing things outer focused, and then bringing that into an inner focus where you can really be in tune with yourself and what's happening both in your energy body and then your physical body.
I love it. I love how you put it. It really is nailing the prosperous body. Like, even saying, coming up with this, the prosperous body. There's some other creation that's going to get created out of that term. I know it. Mary Beth, your talk, Sacred CEO Space, design your home office and daily flow to fuel your next level of wealth. Go deeper into flow and safety.
Yeah, so I think we talked a bit about safety already with having the space be able to support you in your emotional, mental well-being, and that state of flow. So when you have good systems in place, when you're in tune with how you work, and that means understanding this is what you need every day. This is when you're most productive. This is when you do marketing really well. This is when your brain wants to do more intensive work or wants to be more social for Zoom calls and things. When you are attuned to your body and your mind and how you naturally flow throughout your day, and you craft your schedule around that, then that's when you can really set yourself up to receive and to bring in that prosperity that you're really wanting. So it's the space, but also your time. And time is, of course, a construct, but how we manage that time and how we curate what we put there and support ourselves with it, that is when magic happens.
It is when magic happens. I've always been one to say, you can create and set up your day. You can intentionally. And you can do that with environment. You can do that with scheduling. You can do that with people you hang around too. Mm-hmm. David, talk about, your talk is smashing the plateau to ignite prosperity with clarity, confidence, and community. Go deeper into receiving now, like the receiving part of it.
Well, to start with, Jennifer, you mentioned the importance of collaboration.
Yeah.
And you have intentionally built a community very quickly through this summit, mm-hmm. right? All the speakers, the VIPs, the audience members, and everybody who is participating is in it to support one another and also to progress a little bit. So what we all need to do, whatever part we're playing in the summit, whether we're we're a participant, we're in the VIP room, or we're a speaker, we need to be conscious of not only what it is we're giving to the other people in this community you've created, but we also need to be conscious of what we can receive and to do it judiciously. Be clear with ourselves about what we can receive, how it can be helpful, and what we're going to do next, and make a very clear action plan for these next steps.
I love how you're saying that. Yeah. It's not all about just getting information. It's like, what are you going to do next with the information? What are you going to do next with the connections you've made? It's like networking, but almost it's elevated. It's elevated networking and community support. And yeah, I'm already thinking about that. I actually have a coaching call this afternoon to talk about how to elevate this community. What's next after the month's over? Dr. Elsbeth, curious about your talk is really, your talk went on the first day. And if you're in the VIP, you can still access Dr. Elsbeth and Freddie Zental's talk. And so this is a really great reason to come into the talk, is because some of these speakers' interviews have already gone out, and now you might want to listen to them. And if you get the VIP, it's lifetime access. And there is such deep wisdom. This, every interview, I have to say, is my favorite interview. Every interview was very expansive. I've expanded thousands of folds hosting every interview. And that's the thing, is like, you get ideas and you move to the next thing and you start implementing some of these suggestions. And it was a really great interview. And your co-partner of the interview isn't here today, but he's a really cool guy. And tell us more about your talk, Cultivating Life Force Sexual Energy to Turbocharge Leadership and Business Expansion.
Yeah, so I feel like it, like in the beginning when the world was created, when a business was created, when a relationship was created, what was there that actually brought that forth. And so in that sense, it's perhaps more contextual than, what else came up in the conversation today, which is that we all have this life force within us. And this life force that runs through us all the time without usually our knowing about it, was given to us, when we were conceived, at the time of conception, and it leaves us when we leave this planet. It's life force energy that has aliveness. And Robert alluded to it also in the tantric practice. We learn how to access and cultivate this life-giving energy that is creative and sexual in nature. So for me, life force energy is not different from sexual energy. It's the same. This energy shows up in different gradations, in subtle states. Right now, you are listening or speaking, And then when I walk by Lake Michigan and the breeze touches my skin, I'm not highly aroused, but I am elevated, alive, more alive. And then, of course, all the way up to that high arousal state right before a climax on ejaculation, or learning to actually forego that and just riding the wave, where I make use of that energy that emanates from my base, from my first and second chakra, and I can channel it all the way up into the heart. I can embellish my heart, my love with it. I can also bring it into my intentionality in terms of what I want to create, how I want to be, how I want to feel, and use that life-giving energy that is so powerful. It is more powerful than nuclear energy, because nuclear energy cannot bring forth life. However, our life force energy can. And how about learning to access and cultivate so that I can use that creative energy that then, coordinates, integrates with my mental energy. So mental, emotional, heart, and sex energy then come together and bring forth. And it is based in what I call desire. All creation comes from desire. When we look at nature, nature is deeply desirous. That little seed in the ground, that now in Chicago it's freezing cold, it's already in there. And then when spring comes, comes out. And this force, it moves through until it becomes that blossom. It's just remarkable. And we have that within us, and we can learn to use that and, turbocharge that what we want to bring forth in the world. And along the way, what happens is that the energy, the frequency within us of our beingness gets recalibrated and altered. We heard a lot from different speakers about frequency and energy and all of that. And the tantric way is really a great way of tapping into our frequency that is already there, our energy, and move with it consciously. And so that is really the creation. And I have created Tantra Nova with this. I'm 76 years old and I am continuing to create, and with the assistance, or I should say, with that core energy. It's not just assistance, it's my beingness, So anyway, it's just wonderful to share about this. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for having such a wide array of speakers and creating this platform.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, life force energy is one of my favorite things to play with as well. And you can cultivate it, you can practice with it. And when you are full, think of yourself like a vehicle, like you're the car, your body might be the car. On a full tank, you got a lot of freedom. You got a lot of, you can go a long way. And if you keep it full, you can just keep going. You can keep creating, you can keep developing, you can keep taking care of yourself. But when we get to a full tank, or empty tank, and we're riding on fumes and stuff, it's hard to take care of ourselves. And then we get depleted, and then we might even run out of gas and have to call for a pickup and all that kind of stuff. Like I like to think of life force as, when we're on full, it can really support us. But
Yeah,
lots
the beauty.
of people, go ahead,
Jennifer, is the circularity. That word came up a little earlier.
Yeah.
We are nature, and this energy is circular, and we cultivate that, the awareness in the circularity of it. So there is not really an empty or in full.
No.
I would call it more like I'm either more in flow or more stagnant. The energy is always there.
Yes.
You know, I may not be connected with myself with it, you
yes.
know.
So, you just might not be tapped into your own energy, your field.
What I appreciate about looking at it like this is that we are not machines.
I agree with
we are, you know, we are not a car.
No.
We are not a machine. We are not an engine. We are this circularity of energy that we can tap into and move and breathe. And the breath itself inspires.
I agree with you. Thank you for, it's a different metaphor, of course. That's all that I was using. And because I could also talk about it like horsepower from my point of view, but I'm totally with you there. It is circular.
I'm curious about it. I would like to hear more. You speak about how you look at life force.
Yeah, we'll talk about it on another episode, I think, because we're heading to our last speaker, and I got lots more episodes of live streams to come from us. So I think we always start tuning into the next topic in the topic we're on. So Robert, please share with us your the hidden energy trap is your talk title. And how are we going to end with that in this receiving?
Yeah, wonderful. I just have to add, everybody out there listening, if what Elspeth has just shared not piqued your interest, I don't know how, but you better get the VIP and listen to her presentation, because it touched me very deeply, and it ties into what we all shared. But you know, I felt the vulnerability there. I felt the openness. I felt the movement. You know, it's just a wonderful the way you explained that, Elspeth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very beautiful. So I want to give it another twist, because you know, I always come unprepared. I think everybody as well, but we're coming from our own areas of expertise, right? But I want to give my perspective from a shamanic point of view. The world is always reflecting us, right? From a shamanic point of view, we say the world is an illusion. That doesn't mean the world is not real. We just want to say that it is our dreams that are real. What are we dreaming into being, and what is the world reflecting back? So I'm always very observant, and I can always tell when somebody is not in receptive mode. Have you ever gotten on somebody else's bicycle and had to pedal like crazy? Well, this is how they're going through life. You know, have you ever gone in somebody else's car and the clutch is like really difficult to press? You know, that's how they're going through life. I met this woman on the beach and her two daughters, and she went snorkeling. But I noticed she had a very, very thin tube. So I went over there with my snorkel, and I went over there. I said, "You need a better snorkel." She's like, "Why? Why?" "You're not getting enough life through that tube." You know, you can go into the ocean with a bucket or a spoon or a bucket. Create a pipeline. Open yourself to receiving. Right. Another instance, a woman I was driving in the car with through Paris, and she had her mirror broken off on her left side. And I immediately interpreted that as her left side, the feminine aspect and her intuitive faculty being cut off from that. And during that drive home, there were almost 2 accidents when somebody came in from the left side, and she was completely unaware of it. Can come to find out that she was physically abused. You know, those kinds of things. So I'm always looking and paying attention. What you go, and Mary Beth, what's your name? You were talking about space. You go to in somebody's home, and you know, you can immediately tell if they're low frequent, that they're not in receptive mode. If it's a mess, the tonal, in shamanism we talk about the tonal, that is the world of the seen, the physical world, and the nagual is of the unseen world. We have to clean up the tonal. We have to clean up our lives to be able to come into a place of receptivity. You know, so pay attention. You know, if your light bulbs, you know, burst, if your computer constantly crashes. You know, I once blew up a vacuum cleaner because I had such negative energy, and it literally blew up. I just had to laugh. But yes, you know, I immediately noticed that I had a lot of anger that needed, you know, to get cleared out of my body. So I just wanted to add that these are all energy traps, by the way. You know, pay attention where you are losing energy and clean up your life.
Yeah.
Clean it up.
Yeah, and you don't have to do everything in the 1 day or 1 hour. Take it slow, get somebody's help, be kind to yourself. And because everybody's going to have a different perspective or metaphor to explain something. And it's going to serve you to come up with your own way of seeing it too. Like Merlin seems to come in certain times. I watch that all the time. Why is he showing up right now? What is he tuning into? Something about me, but he's also picking up something on the screen too. And then he's got to open the door and close the door and open the door and close the door and open the door. Let the heat out, let the cold in, let the heat out, let the cold in. There's so much to notice and observe. And so there's so much great content being created in this summit. It is unbelievable. It's worth tens of thousands of dollars worth of coaching and mentoring and leadership and support. If you were to take everything that we're talking about and implement it, you'll be a multimillionaire. So see you again tomorrow. I think we're on at 8 a.m. tomorrow, Friday, and we're streaming at 11 a.m. on Saturday. And so I'll see you again. Thank you, everybody who participated today. You guys are amazing. I'm so blessed.